Hi, today I wanted to talk about what could be considered quite a boring subject, damp in your home. We go into a lot of houses at the outset and often see issues with damp. And our first thought is actually, what is causing this? Because we don't want to just treat it. We don't want to just do a quick fix to make it look like it's disappeared in the short term. We want to understand what within the building fabric is causing the damp and solve that issue rather than sort of locally just addressing it and then hoping it will go away, because that never really happens with damp. A lot of it has got to do with the science of the building. And you may need to do some intrusive investigations or get a specialist that identifies problems, not sells solutions. And there is a difference between the two around that. And that could be anything down to sort of a leak detection specialist or down to quite specific people like a damp specialist that looks at the kind of cause of the damp and then outlines potential solutions, but doesn't sell you necessarily a solution. And there are very different types of damp. You get sort of damp that is caused by the building fabric and ground rising damp, if you like, and other forms of damp that are caused by sort of moisture in the air. That's kind of more ventilation related damp, and the way that damp shows itself in the building also differs. So it's really understanding those different causes that will be able to put the right treatment in place. And it can be something simple that, you know, you've created an extension, or perhaps even your neighbor has done an extension that abuts against yours, and their construction or form of construction has meant that there is a trapping of moisture between the two walls, and as a result you're starting to see damp spores within your plaster work. Now the fix for that might be that when you had your extension done, it was all done properly, but because there are certain measures not taken place when your neighbour's done theirs, that doesn't allow your wall to breathe. You're getting the trapping of the moisture between two small gaps, and as a result you've got issues with rising damp. Other issues could be relating to sort of leaking pipes, identifying where those pipes are potentially leaking. Quite often we'll see sort of rainwater pipes on the outside of a building that are literally dripping into sort of very, very loose mortar in between the joints in the brickwork, and that over time will seep through and cause some form of damp on the inner surface walls, often seen in kitchens and things like that. And that sort of damp is quite often that the fixing the problem is relatively straightforward once you've identified with it what it is, and then internally sort of dressing up the finishes is relatively straightforward, but until you've identified what the cause is, it's always going to be a bit difficult to treat it, because you could just decorate the inside in that rainwater example, but until the rainwater pipe is fixed, you're still going to have that inherent issue keep coming back. And it wasn't just the rainwater in that example, it's the rainwater and the loose mortar joints, or the poorly repointed joints in some instances, that leads to the wrong solution being proposed. And it's a kind of understanding that from a holistic approach, breaking down and identifying what is the issue before you look to treat it. We've had instances where so windowsills haven't been laid to a fall historically, and that results in water coming in through the windows. So just putting new windows in isn't going to necessarily fix the problem, because that is a reoccurring problem until you fix it at the sort of stone sill level. In other instances, pavement underneath an undercroft has had water seeping through because there is nowhere for the water to go, and inevitably water will always find a way, and subsequently that is causing sort of damp issues on the inner wall. So just treating it on the inner wall without treating the pavement means that inevitably that problem will keep reoccurring. And the key here is, with anything in relation to damp, you want to treat the cause beyond and making sure that that is all addressed before you just kind of surface treat the kind of outcome of the cause, which can often show itself in sort of watermarks on the wall, or in some instances damp black spores. We're all familiar with that sort of thing, and really identifying at the outset is probably going to help you. But as I say, water will always find a way, and there are a number of specialists in this marketplace that will help you to identify what is causing the damp, but probably key is at the outset not to go to somebody that is necessarily selling a product, but somebody who's bona fide at identifying what the cause of the issue is. And once you do have a product in place to resolve the issues around damp, make sure you're looking at a product that has an insurance-backed warranty, so that you do know that if it does come back again, that you can revert back to that party party so that they can address the issue and deal with it under the original cost that it was done under. So that's a little bit about, common causes of damp in the house, but also really every house is different. So you want to identify that at the outset, and there'll always be a solution as to how you go about fixing it.